One word, wow. That was, first, I don't speak Spanish. I had the translation here, and it was beautiful. I read it as we spoke. And it reminds me, I went to a conference once, and the speaker was like that, a wow. And he electrified people. He electrified me, and I didn't understand every word. And then there was silence. No one applauded because everybody was stunned, like I am now. And there was a break. We had coffee or something. Came back, and I was supposed to speak. And it's not easy. And the silence was still there, and I was very taken. So that was so beautiful. That was poetry. That was a great human being speaking his heart, talking about a fabulous people. And not me, and maybe not everybody, but you're in the room of a great person. So I want to thank you. And that doesn't happen often. But let me tell you, I did this book with Raul and Felipe, and I started by coming to Jaime to ask advice. Because Professor Szyslicki is the dean in my world of Cuban and Cuban-American affairs. And whatever he says, I do. And he recommended Felipe, who recommended Raul, and then we started on this adventure, which took 4 years to create this book. And Felipe, the book is dedicated to Felipe. He taught at the university for 28 years. And Catalonia's here, and he wanted this book published, and when he got sick, and he died quickly, relatively quickly, he told me, he said, Ken, forget about whatever the publisher wants, forget about what all the problems are going to be, but get this book published. So we did it for him, and he was passionate about the Cuban people and passionate about his city of Havana. And Raul was my intellectual guru. He taught me a lot about cities, and Felipe taught me a lot about Havana. And unfortunately, he's not here, but he would be very happy to be here. Now, the purpose of the book is very simple. Havana has to be, or should be, restored and brought back to its glory. Havana, simply stated, is one of the great, and as you say, maybe the greatest city in the world. And that's unusual. There's a lot of great cities. We mentioned Barcelona and others. Barcelona is my second great city, by the way. And its history, as you mentioned, parallels that of Havana. And when the walls came down of Barcelona, it expanded. And luckily, the Catalonians were great people who had a vision for their city. And so they built a beautiful city in the shadows of the old wall. And at the same time, Havana took down their walls. And they had land now to expand. And they expanded in a beautiful way. So a lot of people ask me, not a lot, but a few. I was with a Cuban doctor, and I live in Winter Haven now. That's in the provinces. We're living in the country. And my Cuban doctor, he bought 5 books, and I was at his house yesterday, and I told him about Jaime Szyslicki. He said, what kind of Spanish name is Szyslicki? And I didn't have an answer, but he asked me, why is Havana so unique? And the simple answer is, any city is a mirror of its people. If you look at any city in the world, it reflects the people that created it. If it's garish, if it's exciting, if it's dull, if it's progressive, if it's beautiful, if it's ugly, whatever that is not controlled by any one person. It's not controlled by any theory or any government or any bureaucracy. It's a reflection of the people at that moment in history. And Havana, I didn't live through all the centuries of Havana's life. And I'm sure there was turmoil and regression and poverty and all these myriad of little incidents that happen, all these daily vignettes that happen in everyone's life. But in the total of looking back at history now, we can look back and see a beautiful, beautiful city which occurred because of beautiful people. Not everybody was beautiful, not everyone is kind, not everyone is smart, but the total of this experience culminated in a beautiful city. And it's a city of parks, of promenades, of a beautiful waterfront, of monuments that are not screaming, they're whispering how important they are. You know, in modern architecture today, one of the problems is we have ego architecture. Cities want to be famous, corporations want to be famous, and a city that wants to be famous hires a famous architect, and he comes and he does a famous building, and everybody comes to the cocktail party and applauds, and the magazines then promote it, and that you have an individual building that may be beautiful, may not be, but may be beautiful, but it's not a city. The secret of architecture is to be harmonious, where everything blends together, becomes one person. The secret of a city is a person. If you love a person because he's kind, he's gentle, he's part of the community, that's the same criteria you give to architecture. It isn't necessarily something that's published or something that's famous or something that comes from a famous name, but the idea is that it's a neighborhood. So Havana is a series of neighborhoods. And the great buildings in Havana, the Capitol and the Presidente Palace, are beautiful in themselves, but they blend in to the neighborhood, to the city. They're part of the city. And the city is punctuated by monuments. Now, how many cities today in the world build monuments? I gave a talk once to the mayors of all the cities in Florida. And they were listening to statistics. The speaker before me told about budgets and everything. And I got up and I said, how many have you planted bougainvillea in your city this year? They thought I was crazy, see? But it takes a certain amount of spirit, a certain amount of love of community to build a great city. And it takes those people, and the people are what does it. Over the years, now there's greed, there's development, there's profit, there's sacrifice. All these things happen, but a great city is built by great people. And the Cuban people are wonderful. And I say that now in a friendly group, but I grew up in Miami Beach, and in the summertime, after a certain time, the Cubans invaded Miami Beach. I don't know if you remember that, but Veradero Beach became old hat and Miami Beach became the new thing. And I learned how to rumba, mambo, cha-cha, and we did it in Flamingo Park. See, so I got a little of that rubbed off as a young child. And so Miami, by the way, had a twin relationship with Havana. If you were going to go on a vacation in 1920, you went to Miami and then you took a boat or a plane to Havana. They were twin cities. They were sisters maybe, but twin cities. And the beauty of Havana was also the beauty of Miami. We had a bay, they had a bay. We had a moon, they had a moon. We had a sun, they had a sun. They had everything that we had, and we had what they had. Unfortunately, Miami, I have to say unfortunately, has not mirrored this greatness of Havana, because we don't have the plazas or the Parque Central or the great urban things that Havana has. Urban development